Welcome back to another episode of Straight Facts, joined by... Introduce yourself. I'll let you introduce yourself. It's always better when you do it. Introduce yourself to the masses, my friend.
I'm Goonie from a channel called Man Knows Football. Yeah, and I'm new to the Football Terrace. It's my first time on here. I was just saying to Terry off the camera how much I've been, I enjoy watching this show. And it's kind of mad for me to be here because, like, I started off as a fan of this channel. Now I'm sitting here talking with Terry. So thank you very much for having me here, man.
Absolute pleasure, as I said backstage. Like it's what we're about here. And I've recently, a lot of my viewers and our members have been saying, "I need to get some new voices on as well." Like, it's great, all the people that are on here regularly, and that's what we try to do as best we can, is mix it up. It's, I love how certain other channels work, but for me, having like every time we do a show, if you can have 2 or 3 different people from the last time, I think it just keeps it fresh, it keeps it new, it keeps it relevant, and everything else. So yeah, absolute pleasure, Goonie, to have you on here. And yeah, everyone go check out Man Knows Football as well. Great channel, good guests on there as well. I saw you recently with Matisse, which was a great show, and Lee Gunner's been on there and other people. So yeah, really good stuff, my friend. And loads going on in football as well. Loads going on. Packed agenda on the show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we're going to unpack and look at the situation with Antonio Conte. That's an absolute madness what's going on there. I want to talk Marcus Rashford. Is he finished at Manchester United? Is one of the big talking points to go into there. Obviously, we've got a Chelsea fan on, so we've got to talk Lukaku. We have to speak about Lukaku. Should he be starting this weekend? What does the remainder of his career look like at Chelsea now? Will that be fixed? Some transfer news as well for Arsenal. Early reports of Lautaro Martinez being a target, or at the very least, Arsenal looking to go out and spend really, really big this summer. So we're going to delve into all of these and look ahead at Wolves versus Arsenal later on tonight as well. Where do you want to start, though, bruv? Like, what subject do you want to start on? Where do you want to start with?
Let's leave Lukaku till last, because I know that's the subject everyone's burning to hear from a Chelsea fan. Let's get on to Antonio Conte with the situation at Tottenham, because that just happened yesterday, right? That big shock.
Yes. I mean, and it is a big. I mean, what's your take? I mean, you've had him as your manager. Like, what's your take on what he said?
It's not surprising. To be honest with you, at first I thought very good appointment for Tottenham, but it could end in catastrophe, because Conte is known for working with a particular budget and getting what he's used to. Otherwise, he'll throw his toys out of the pram. And you've been seeing it bubbling up over at Spurs for a couple of weeks now. Obviously, they did get that victory over at the Etihad Stadium against Manchester City. Spirits were lifted, and rightfully so. I'm pretty sure Conte was expecting the boys to pick up from where they left off. But to lose 1-0 to Burnley, you can see the frustration in Conte. He has come out a few times and he has complained about the strength of the squad. He has tried to manage expectations around the fan base to let them know and say, listen, this team is nowhere near ready at the level to be competing for what you want. So kind of lower your expectations a little bit. And we're starting to see what he's saying is actually true. Not that we didn't know this before, but Conte was right in what he was saying. And if he's not going to get backed at where I think, because he needs a big budget for it to work for him, and I don't know if Spurs are really going to facilitate that for him. So it's not really a match made in heaven, Conte and Spurs.
Mate, I hear you on that, and I stand by everything I said about Antonio Conte, one of the best managers in the world. He's in the top 4 managers in the Premier League right now. Listening to him talk last night, it sounded to me very much like, even I can't fix this club. And I think it's a mentality thing that he can't fix. We've all got a friend that's a doormat. We've all got a friend that, no matter what he's doing, where he's at, if you say, "Oh, come pick me up," he'll pick you up. And no matter what his girl or her guy does to him, they put up with it. Doesn't matter what anyone does, they're just a doormat, and Spurs are doormat FC in the sense of they're happy to be walked all over when it really matters, if that makes sense. The fans are happy to be bridesmaids. The club's happy to be there or thereabouts. And I don't even think it's about spending money per se. People keep talking to me about, the quality of the squad is what's letting Antonio Conte down. I'm like, well, when they were under Poch at their absolute best, invariably they fouled. And people say, well, they qualified for the Champions League on a few occasions. They did, but remember, the year that Leicester won the league, they got Champions League qualification. But they fouled in their attempt of winning the league when all the other big sides had poor seasons, and they ended up finishing behind Arsenal that year. it's almost like Champions League was there, but it was almost a consolation for what they were actually going for. They've in my lifetime, Tottenham, barring a handful of occasions, an FA Cup win in the early 90s. I remember Gaza against Arsenal in the semi-final, the League Cup win in 99, the League Cup win in 2008, I want to say it was. And then essentially, like, even the way they came back against, they come back against Ajax, and maybe 2 or 3 other occasions that elude me, in a 36-year period, to only have 5, 6, 7 examples of when you weren't expected to do something you delivered, it's embarrassing. And I think Antonio Conte has gone in there and realized that they just don't have the desire as a football club, inside and out, to change that. And I think he knows that he will foul at a club like that because his standards are up here. He's going to be pushing players to deliver at this level. And I just don't think the majority want to do that. The fact that Harry Kane is even thinking of signing a new deal again is insanity to me, because
Facts.
even look, he could join Man United. He might not win anything, but at least he's trying. You fear he could go anywhere and not win anything of any real note. But staying at Tottenham, you're signing career-wise, it's a death sentence. It's an absolute death sentence. And I'm not surprised Antonio reacted like that. I think he was half questioning himself. I'm not the guy. And I also think this as well. I'd love to get your take on this. I don't know what you're doing job-wise or what you're doing in your career, but when you first start out and you do the dog work, I used to work in banking, and I remember my first 3 jobs. I was doing ledgers out the back. We used to print the statements in branches and send them out to people by hand when I first started in banking. And I used to sit there and do that. I was, making tea and coffee for people. It was actually hard work. By the time I finished my banking career, I was very fortunate. I was working in the private bank with lovely desks, beautiful offices, great restaurants you get to take clients to. It was amazing. I could never have gone back 2, 3 stages of my career again and done that work. I don't think I'd have had the appetite for it. It would have been done this. Antonio Conte has been at clubs that are never going to win. He's been at the clubs where you've had to grind and work with shoestring budgets and be happy. Like, if you get a 5th place finish, you celebrate. He's done that in his career. He is beyond that now. I could never imagine Pep or Klopp going to a club that hasn't won a league title in 50, 60, 70 years and also doesn't have the resource or the appetite in the modern day sense to go and do it. I'm not talking like a Newcastle that might want to spend to do that. I'm speaking about, I could never see Pep going, right, I'm going to take over Aston Villa next and try and make them win the league, because they're never going to give him the resources that he's now become accustomed to deliver. And that's what I kind of see with Antonio Conte. I think he's realized, I've just made a really bad decision becoming the Tottenham manager. And this place it's not even a sinking ship. That's probably the wrong word for it. It's just never been in the race. It's never gone out to sea. Do you know what I mean? They're just a bang average football club. They really are.
No, absolutely. He's realized, it's like you're saying, he's gone from Gauchos to TGI Fridays, and that's not a disrespect to Spurs, but in terms of the quality of the teams that we've seen him manage, especially in recent years, it's quite the obvious. And if anybody knows how a successful club is run, it's Conte. So he probably went to Tottenham thinking, okay, cool. They're ambitious. They're trying a different approach. They're hiring a manager who's won stuff in myself, including in England. So if there's anybody who will know an accurate infrastructure or thereabouts infrastructure to be making some kind of progress, it's going to be him. So I personally think if it was a case where assurances were made to him and Levy was following through, I think part of that might have hindered his decision. Or could it be that something was said when he was signing the contract that has not been fulfilled, that has also led to this? We will never know, because surely the football man that Conte is, he knows the history of the Tottenham. Do you know what I mean? He knows the history of it. So he can't have got in there blind thinking, okay, we're going to hit the ground running and we're going to get to the success that I want. Something must have been said to him. Or he must have got in there and just realized, like you said, the mentality over here is just unworkable. It's impossible. So you can't really, listen, it's his fault for signing the contract and taking the job. Yes, he's got to take responsibility for that. But with the mentality, you can't really put that on him because he's been proven elsewhere. See what I'm saying?
I agree. Like, he knows. I think one of the comments I read here from him, I was just reading here again. It says that I'm trying to do everything to change the situation, but the situation is not changing. And I think that what I'm reading when I see that is I'm doing everything in my power to make this team, this club, bigger, better, stronger, deliver them forward. And it just isn't happening. It just isn't going the way he wants it to. And I think that Antonio Conte is the kind of person that, some people look at it and say, oh, stay around, keep fighting. I saw some Arsenal fans talk about this is why they prefer Mikel Arteta, because when he was at struggling points at the club, he worked through it. And I'm like, yeah, but you're talking about a man in his first job who's still got to earn his stripes in football. He has no managers like Arteta, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney's, to name them all. They have no, in my opinion, no right to be walking away from situations yet, because they're cutting their teeth. Mm-hmm. And almost like the failures when you're young or not, if you actually look at the majority of managers, like Zidane's and Pep's are rare, where they go into their first jobs at big clubs and they win and they're successful. Most other managers, when you look through their careers, start elsewhere, learn their job elsewhere. Fergie, go and look at some of his early jobs and the clubs he was at. Loads of stuff would have gone wrong for him there. Aberdeen in his early days, things went wrong, and he just become a better manager over the course of time. And I think that you can't compare Mikel Arteta to an Antonio Conte. Antonio Conte has done his apprenticeship. He's learned his trade. He now wants to manage at the elite end of the spectrum, where clubs are being run well, and he's being given the resource that he wants, and his ambition is being matched. And I don't think there's anything wrong in Antonio Conte's approach towards this at all. I wouldn't blame him for leaving. And a lot of Spurs fans will see that as a dig. Oh, you're digging us out. You're being disrespectful. It's not even about that. It's understanding Antonio Conte's situation. If you want a manager like Conte, your club has got to behave in that regard. Do you know what I mean? And if you date someone that's all about getting a bag, all about the designer clothes, all about the nice cars, if you don't deliver that, they're going to leave you.
Facts.
If you don't want that, and this is the thing, right? I got a friend. He's a good guy, right? Big up yourself, bro. But he only likes dating girls that only want the finer things. So, it is what it is. And he knows that. He knows that if he's with one of these girls, like, he's got to buy her the right shoes, the right dresses, the right handbags, eat in the right restaurants. He loves that life as well. But that's a match made in heaven, because he earns good money and he's prepared to spend that to get what he wants, right? If you're not, and you don't want a person like that, don't date someone like it. Do you know what I mean? I don't have no issue with men or women that live those lives, but it's like, if you're not up for it, then do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I've got a friend who's dating a model, and then he used to get angry that there's pictures of her in her underwear and stuff on the internet. I'm like, but she's an underwear model, you moron.
That's how you met her. Do you know what I mean?
If you employ Antonio Conte, you've got to give him what he wants. I said the same thing with they brought Jose in. With Jose, even though I think he's past his best, when Jose comes in, you give him everything he wants at every single moment. Otherwise, he becomes toxic. If you choose not to give him what he wants, that's on you. Like, I got no sympathy at all.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next coming weeks, or maybe even coming days, with the Conte situation. But me personally, I don't think he's going to walk. I think he's going to want Spurs to fire him so we can get his payday.
Well, yeah, I mean, managers are smart when it comes to that, aren't they? It's like, what? I'm not going to walk away and earn no money out of this. I'm going to do the right thing for me and mine, which I totally get as well. To be fair, it makes a lot of sense. Strongest civilian here says, nah, that's the dominatrix type of preference. But that's the point, isn't it? Let's just say you like a dominatrix. Don't be upset when don't cry when you're getting spanked with a belt. Like, that's part of it. Like, if you do things, you come on the football terrace, expect rivals to have a dig at your team. The amount of times I read the comments, oh, why are Man United fans having a dig at Chelsea? It's football terrace. It's rivals talking to rivals about football. Deal with it, bro. That's it. Like, it's a crazy one for me. Comment here says, Terry, I believe Conte waited for the Man United job, but our board didn't call him. He ultimately compromised with Spurs and their offer. What do you think? Yeah, Man United were never going to employ Conte because of what we're seeing now. The board would never risk a manager who's going to out them publicly. Mm-hmm. I wanted Conte for that reason. I wanted him to come in, out the board, and be like, yeah, these guys are charlatans. Having said that, the fan base still wouldn't really turn on the Glazers. Twice a year we turn on the Glazers. Twice a year we do a little protest or have a little moan. Then we go back to buying shirts and buying tickets and feeding it. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. It is what it is there. But yeah, get your comments coming in, people. I want to know BDSM, Terry. Yeah, I got into that. That ain't my thing. That's not my thing. But Uncle Sharma here says, as an Everton fan, I expect this to happen. But this is happening much quicker than expected.
As an Inter fan.
Yeah, well, obviously he walked away on Inter because Inter didn't. The maddest thing is with him walking away on Inter, they might win the league again this year. It's almost like that's how principled he is. It was like, I can still win the league with this team. But the fact you're selling my two best players when you said you wouldn't, for that reason I'm leaving, I kind of respect it.
Yeah, you have to respect it. He's that you can see that he stands by his principles and he don't bend for no one. And you got to respect that as a man.
Yeah, 110%. You've got to, no doubt. Viewers, make sure you are smashing the like button. Make sure you're subscribing. We'll talk Arsenal in a bit. I want to speak Marcus Rashford. I need to speak about this guy. I'm one of his biggest, legitimately, I am one of his biggest fans. You won't find someone that's a bigger. I like the way he plays football. I like the way he's gone about things. I love all the work he did. Charity. I loved everything about the guy. I saw a young kid who was growing, getting better. I saw a young kid who had 2 seasons on the bounce where I'm a big person on outputs. And a lot of people turn around, oh, hate the eye test. I'm like, no, the eye test is important, but the eye test is a damn preference, you know. I'm not a fan of Elvis Presley's music. He's one of the top 3 selling artists of all time. Therefore, I can't say he's rubbish. So eye test, like my ear test and the sales that he's done are 2 very different things. And I look at football in that way. Marcus Rashford was progressing nicely moving forward. But I have to say this now, and it's the main title of the video and content today. He looks absolutely finished at Man United right now. As in, I know there are people that are like, I said he wasn't that good. Look how bad he now is. But this isn't a guy this guy can't even control a ball. This guy can't even dribble. Like, he can't do anything anymore. Like, as bad as he is now, even people that didn't like him, even people saying things like, he was only ever, he was basically Danny Welbeck. He was basically Theo Walcott. This now is worse than those 2 players ever were. Like, do you think he's done at Man United? Do you think he's finished playing at this level? Is it a case of maybe needing a change, needing a new club? Or is this just a bad run of form now that's become very difficult for him to get out of?
I will say this first and foremost. I don't watch Rashford as much as obviously Manchester United fans such as yourself watch Manchester United. So I will say that. So I'm just speaking from my perspective is that I think the situation around Rashford and 1 or 2 other players as well they've been a victim of Manchester United and how the club is run. Obviously, you've still got areas in your squad that you need to address that I think if those areas can be addressed, they will improve your attacking phase of football as a result. So, for example, the whole situation with the DM, if you can find somebody who can control possession, who can screen that defense properly, and who can pass the ball as well to your better players who can transition up the field a lot quicker, I think Marcus Rashford will benefit from that. Very pacey player, loves to get in from behind. And sometimes, a lot of the time, the transitions are not fast enough at Manchester United. So that's not working to his favor. Personally, I think it's a managerial issue and just a club issue. I'm not going to sit here and say Rashford is a world-class talent or he's a bad player. I'm not going to say that because I think he's a good player. And I still think he's very young and he's got time to develop. Same with a lot of these players. They're a victim of the coaching and what's been happening with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now. Obviously, Rangnick has come in and he's trying to do his best to make things better. But I'm not going to say Rashford's finished. I just think that with everything that's going on, it's not helped the situation.
Yeah. But I think you're right on that. Like, people that don't like, this is why I know what you're saying is true. People that love Anthony Martial, as an example, by the way, I'm one of them. I've often said, the changing of managers. He's had Van Dijk, he's had Jose, he's had Oli. We then went into Ralph. He had 4 managers in his 5-6 years at the club. They played him left. They played him striker. They gave him a 9. They took his 9. They gave him back the position of 9, the shirt number of 9. They've done so many things to him as an individual.
Exactly.
That's damaging for him. The changing from LVG styles to Jose's to Ollie's and then trying to transition into Ralph's. I completely get why a player wants to leave. The lack of coaching, the lack of consistency at the football club absolutely damaged Anthony Martial. So I have to keep the same energy for Rashford. This is where football fans frustrate me is that they'll give that reason for Pogba, they'll give that reason for Martial, they'll give that reason for Donny, bad management, bad coaching, didn't know how to use him.
Yeah.
They'll give that reason for all the players they love. When it comes to players they don't like, it's always, yeah, not good enough, not intelligent enough, don't work hard enough, believe their own hype. I kind of like the majority of our players at Man United. I just support them. They're my players. And I look at Rashford, I think he is partly a victim of the chopping and the changing of the management structures, the style of footballs, the lack of coaching, compared to what Phil Foden has been exposed to, compared to what Raheem Sterling has had over the years. The improvement, for instance, in Mason Mount under Tuchel is brilliant. And you can see the improvement because he's now got a world-class manager and coaching system around him. Where I will criticize him, though, is this. He and a lot of Man United players are guilty of, you can call it a Hollywood passes, but I think they're always trying to do something magical. They're always, like Rashford last night, sometimes it's just, you know what, control the ball well and make the right pass. Simple pass. It's not a lack of intelligence.
Yeah.
He had the chance to play the ball on the outside to Luke Shaw. I think what's going through his mind is that's the simple thing, though. And at Man United, this is interesting how the mentality of even myself towards United has changed. I remember listening to Rio Ferdinand talk, and he said he was in a training session when he first joined Man United, and it was like a passing exercise, and he kept on making the easy ball. And Roy Keane grabbed him, pulled him aside, and said, "Listen, you're at Man United now. We don't take the easy way out. You go for that difficult pass. That's how we win games, essentially. Of course, you have to do this with balance." But Roy Keane was essentially saying, stop always going for the easy, like the back pass. That's you don't lose possession, but you're passing responsibility. Sometimes you need to make that ball that's difficult, but if it goes through, it's going to cut through the midfield and open a team up. And I love that. I'm like, yeah, that's part of the United way. We believe in ourselves to be good enough to take these risks. However, when you're in a situation Rashford's in, where his confidence is shot to bits and his form's out the window, stop trying that difficult pass, that difficult dribble. Stop trying. All right, there's three guys there. I can pass it off to the right winger and look for a 1-2, or I can try and dribble past these three guys. I dribble past these three guys, get the crowd up, people back on my side again. And I think he's going for that spectacular thing always, that magical moment. When actually, I think what he has to do is build his confidence back up again by doing the basic, simple, easy things. And I think if he starts to do that, he can turn this round, because I think he's a talent. And people that don't will turn around and say he's been found out now, as an example. I'm not prepared at this point to completely write him off as a player and say 100% isn't good enough. We've seen players turn their careers around on a number of occasions. You're starting to see it at Chelsea now with Hakim Ziyech as an example. First, we've seen players come to the Prem, first year or two struggle, and then go on to be legends. Didier Drogba will always stand out in my mind as one of those players. People can go through, rough patches of form, and he's protruding. But I think the reason he's protruding is like you've said, lack of consistency. We don't even have a head coach. This is the maddest thing, right? We don't even have the style of football next year is going to be the same as what Ralph's trying to get them to play. And that's also must be a part of their mindset as well. Like, imagine you run through brick walls and you work your backside off to get Ralph's style down. And then Ten Hag comes in, and we all as fans go, it looks very similar. But the training methods could be completely different. And you're like, like Rashford might be looking at this like Martial did and going, this could be the 6th different way of playing football in 5 years, 6 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
That must be exhausting as a player.
And I just wanted to say, Terry, sorry to cut you off. We have to also remember that he is a young player. And in his formative years, he has had no consistency whatsoever. And consistency is important in development. And during that consistency, yes, it's normal to see young players drop in and out of form. But with him, it's like you were saying, he was a number 9. Me personally, when he first came on the scene, I remember the 2 goals he scored against Arsenal. I thought this kid is a number 9. I don't know whether that's where he was playing in the academy. Maybe you can tell me, or someone in the comments can tell me. But he's gone from number 9 to playing on the left, and then to playing in this system and that system. And then there's also the issues that are off the field. Now, I'm not the kind of person that likes to blame things for certain issues off the field. Yes, he does a lot of philanthropy and things like that. But the question has been asked, is this kind of taking his attention away from football?
Yeah.
I don't know. But like, regardless of whether it is or isn't, if a player's going through a bad stint of form, or they're not showing what people know that they can do, external things will be blamed, because a lot of people do like to take the easy option. You see what I mean? So it might be, we might be right or we might be wrong. We don't know. But it's just like a lot of fans will go and turn to that reason. Well, he's just caring too much about feeding kids and that and not focusing about football. Well, that might not be the case. There are football players out there that do the philanthropy and a lot of things outside of football, but you just don't know about it. Rashford is just he's just he's a public figure that's been pushed out there like that. So that's why you know his information. I just wanted to say that.
No, I look. Do you know what it is? I'm someone that feels like footballers should definitely be doing things outside of the game. You know, building up brands, building up businesses. You know, I was working with Marlon Harewood again this week, and you know, he during his time as playing, he was building up his sort of car dealership empire. I think I don't think it distracts players because they get a lot of free. The thing is with footballers, they get a lot of spare time. They get a lot of spare time outside of training and games. And I would rather players be throwing themselves into building businesses, building brands, working for charities than being in betting shops, being in pub drinking, right? I much prefer that. I think with Rashford, though, where it's different is he took on the Conservative government. And he has had the crazy thing about Rashford is he's had stick from people for feeding kids. So he's had, and I'm not talking about Man United fans like our PR. This forget all that. I'm talking about actual like bona fide, verified journalists and politicians and fairly powerful people come for him and challenge him and ridicule him and dig him out and drag out things that he's invested in, things his family have done, and trying to discredit him to stop him pushing the agendas. I think that is distracting in the sense of I can get distracted sometimes if I can have someone tell a stupid lie about me on a stream somewhere and I'm getting 50, 60 messages or DMs or tweets about it. That distracts me. Imagine it's thousands, tens of thousands. Like Marcus Rashford is the second most, LeBron James is number one. He's the second most abused sports person in the world on socials.
Wow.
And when I read the report on this, that isn't where people are saying you played badly today. Sub Rashford off, he isn't good enough. That isn't what they consider. It's where obviously they have the algorithms. It's where people are calling you a variety of pejoratives. So they're calling you bad names, or using bad words towards you. And when I say it's like Pogba's quite high on the list, he gets around 70,000 a month. Rashford's is over 130,000 a month. So my point is, when you're doing all that charity work, you've got the government coming for you. You've got journalists coming for you. You've got rival fans coming for you. You've got the abuse that comes with it all. I think that can become a distraction. I think that can become a distraction and take your mind away from things. So I kind of look at it along the lines of, I think there's a little bit where I would like him to take a bit of a break. I'm sure he has people now he can delegate that over to, take a back step and focus on because the irony in it is this: your platform of being a footballer is giving you the opportunity to do that. So I feel like you owe it to the football fans and football that's giving you that platform to get yourself back to your very best. And that's just my take. And some people may disagree with that, but I think there's an element there that he needs to really kind of focus on, because there is a talent in there. There's no doubt. You don't score the level that he did, create the level that he did, and not have some sort of ability. And as a Man United fan, I don't want to just write him off. I want him to get back to his best. I don't it's kind of weird for me. However, though, at the same breath, though, I'm not stuck in my ways. Like, if Elanga keeps improving and Sancho keeps improving, I've always said this, like, I'm not going to, even though Rashford's my favorite player in the Man United squad, like, if he isn't good enough to play for us anymore, or there's 2, 3, 4, 5 people better than him, that's just part and parcel as well. And if he isn't good enough doesn't have the fight to like get himself back into the first team, that's just the nature of the beast. So, you know, if that's part of the problem, if Ten Hag comes in and just says, you know what, he can't handle the pressure of Sancho being better than him, then you're not a Man United player in my eyes. I think then I hate this notion that fans give of, we shouldn't buy Haaland because we're developing this young kid. No, if that young kid's better than Haaland, he'll be better than Haaland. Like
facts, yeah.
I mean, like, and that's where Chelsea get it right. Chelsea have got good youth players, but Loftus-Cheek isn't better than Kovacic or Kante.
No, it's not.
Or J5. So he isn't going to start over them. It isn't about, we have to play him though because he's academy based. No, you play the best players possible. And if Reece James suddenly regresses, Roman's buying a new right back. He ain't going to he's not going to go, right, let's give him another free. He ain't going to, I know Luke Shaw isn't from our academy, but the fact Luke Shaw is still at Man United, he's been here, 8-9 years? It's a calamity. He hasn't proven himself consistent enough. He had one good, I know he had a leg break, but he's had one good season in a decade. That's not good enough to
It's
be
not
on.
good enough. No.
Chelsea, City, Liverpool wouldn't tolerate that, and they're the three best teams in the country. So why the hell are we? Like, why the hell are we tolerating that? It's mad.
I guess it's just the lack of footballing brains running the club as well at the top. I don't know. Or even I don't know what the system is in the back room with the staff. Don't know who your head scout is or whatever, because you got to look at those people as well. Fans often they forget. They always want to blame the manager, or they want to blame the owner of the club. But there are head scouts too that make decisions and make suggestions to these people to make the transfer happen or not happen, for example. Do you know what I mean? So there are others that can be held accountable for this.
Yeah, sorry, a weird message come through. No, I hear you completely, mate. It absolutely is. There's a super chat here that says if Rashford's pace is dealt with the correct positioning by defenders, he doesn't have any other tools. Coaching is very high currently in the Premier League, and I hear you on that. But then all the top coaches in the league, they were here last season and the season before when he was killing it. I think it's more Rashford. I think Rashford has the thing about Rashford is Barcelona have been looking at him many times. PSG have inquired into his agents about, take it. And this is the one thing where I want Man United fans to be very mindful. Rashford could leave and go to another big club, and I think another big club would come in for him. Don't be surprised if he goes there into a club with a better structure and start scoring and sitting. What I wouldn't want to hear from people is, "Oh, why did we let him go?" But I'm saying, give him the same with Martial. I said to him, give them all a consistent and high level coach, and just keep the system and the process and the structure and the culture the same for a few years, and our better players will rise to the cream will rise to the top. I wouldn't be surprised to see Anthony Martial killing it over the next 18 months. I wouldn't be surprised to see Donny van de Beek doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford leaves for him to be doing it. Why? Because the amount of players that have left our club, from Chris Smalling to Memphis, even to Zlatan to a degree, we all said he was finished. And I know he went to the MLS, did well there, came back and he done all right at his age still in AC Milan. We probably still should have kept him for another year. We didn't. Like, nearly everyone that leaves Man United goes on to do better elsewhere. Look at Angel Di Maria's done since he's left. Like, we just got this habit of getting rid of people because it isn't working. And we always blame the player, like the individual, rather than looking at the overall structure. But we'll see what happens with that. We've got another super chat here from Jason that says, if Conte wants to leave, he can just resign, but now it seems he is asking to be sacked. With that comes a fat severance pay check. Yeah.
I read that with PTSD. He done that to us.
Yeah, I bet you do as a Chelsea fan, 110%. But viewers, I want to know what you think about Rashford. Is he going to get back to his best? Is he ever going to, reach the height that he's potential kind of got to? And what's really interesting about the whole thing is I'm seeing people gas up Elanga, how good he's going to be, singing his name. And I'm like, I remember you doing this too, Rashford. Slow down about this. Based on the Russia-Ukraine invasion, Parliament is suggesting taking Roman's ownership of Chelsea. Bruv, I've read stuff like this. I don't know how legal that is. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know what that. I've heard about sanctions against Roman and whatever. There's already sanctions against him. The only way I could see it happening, and I don't know the law, so I'm speaking here as a moron, is if it was proven that Roman does something that's against, like, what's that? Like, not against human rights, like there's an act, there's something to do, basically helps commit a war crime. If that was proven, maybe. But I think it's protected as an entity, because essentially when you're a limited company, you're not, the Football Terrace is now a limited company. The limited company, the Football Terrace, and me, Terry Fluids, are two separate entities legally. So I just don't see how they can do that, Wayne. But I haven't read up enough about it. I mean, what are you Chelsea fans hearing about that sort of thing?
Man, I woke up this morning to just all that news all over Twitter. So right now, since it's early, the only takes that I have from it is a lot of the stories that I'm seeing are recycled old information. Like, for example, the UK have banned Roman Abramovich from coming into the UK. Well, when was the last time he was in the UK? Do you know what I mean?
I think he's been banned this whole time. I think they refused him a visa, I think.
Or something. Yeah, something along those lines. And then just like this guy pointed out as well, that, the British government are looking to take Chelsea away from Abramovich. Something to do with illicit illicit funds or funding Putin. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it is, as a Chelsea fan, it is concerning. I mean, having any country's government investigating your own, of course you would. Oh, well, I was going to swear here. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah,
but
swear away, mate. Swear
yeah,
away.
you're going to shit bricks. Do you know what I mean? That's But
Yeah.
it remains, it remains to be seen, because look, 95% of us, that including myself, we don't know the actual legal ins and outs of what's going on, whether if that can be done. And we also have to remember too that the number one objective of papers is to either get clicks or sell the papers. That's it. So I don't really have a stance on it, because I don't know what's true and what's not, nor do I understand the whole law about it. So I'm just like you, waiting for information to be trickled down to me. That's a bit more, you get me, layman term friendly.
Yeah, no, I'm the same, mate. I kind of look at it from the point of view of I don't know how legal that is. I mean, I just don't know how they can do that. There would have to be some. Yeah, I'm not going to even speculate, because when it comes to these subject matters, me, like 99.9% of people on Twitter, we're morons. We have no idea about this. We have no idea what I've noticed in the last 24 hours is people have gone from being COVID experts to being war experts to being political experts to being home office experts. It's like, do you know what? Stick to what you work at Tesco's. You work for ASOS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're a bartender. I'm just trying to think of other jobs. You're a builder. Stick to your profession. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have an opinion, but some of the things I've seen people say, this is what's going to happen. That won't happen. I'm like, how do you know?
Yeah.
How you got no idea? I've read. So I spent about 4 hours last night after I finished working. I was up till late reading about this, why this has started, why it's happened, and I vary my sources. What the BBC said versus what Sky said versus what an American website went on and said. I was like, this is like they all read different. I was like, I've got no.
There's no consistency.
Like, this is mad.
Yeah.
This is mad. For me, the only thing I think about is obviously the innocent people in this, and hoping everybody is as safe as possible. But yeah, I think what it is as well with the Chelsea thing, and this is what makes me feel a bit sick, is I feel like some people are like, oh my God, this could be so good for my football club if Roman has it taken away from him. Like, you're not even thinking about, like, just say they could, and they do.
Yeah.
That's the story. The story is, oh shit, why? Why are they doing
Why?
it?
Yeah, why is the question.
Yeah, rather than, oh, this could be really good for my club, Chelsea could be in the mud. I'm like, that is the least of my worries when you've got this going on at the minute. It's a madness to me that people are even like thinking and talking about this, especially when like someone here said, but in your case, a content creator. Yeah, exactly. As a content creator, I'm literally saying that I've heard about this. I'm seeing what's being said, but I'm not giving an opinion whether he should or he shouldn't, because I don't even know the rules. Like, I have no idea. You need someone who is an expert on this subject matter to give an opinion on it. And even then, you ask questions and just say, I heard this from an expert. That's
exactly.
It.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of them ones. That's the way these things work for me. But just because someone here says, just because you're a thicko on politics, we all are. Well, this is the thing. Everybody thinks they're an expert. The only time I consider someone an expert is when I watch them like regularly debate these subjects against other so-called experts on television and on radio. Then what I find with a lot of people is they read the stuff and they regurgitate what they've read perfectly. It reminds me of that film Good Will Hunting.
I have seen that, years ago. Yeah,
where he's in the bar and they got that blonde chap who's like tries to embarrass one of his friends by like just quoting other people's work to make himself sound clever. But obviously, because Will in the film, who's played by Matt Damon, is smarter, he's able to like make him look stupid. So what a lot of people do, they'll just like plagiarize something they've read in a magazine or what an MP has said, and then if you know nothing about it, you go, "Oh yeah, you know what you're talking about." But it's only when someone else who's actually smarter challenges their opinion, and
picks them up.
That's why I tend to stay away from it, because I can read something and then I could read why Roman could lose it, but me repeating that means nothing because I can't be challenged on it because I have no background knowledge on the subject matter at all. So yeah, it's one of them ones there. I'm a geopolitical economist. Cool. Then I'll listen to your opinion on geopolitics, the economic element. Yeah, that's what I'll listen to you on, my guy. That's what I'll listen to you on when it comes to that. But yeah, the Roman thing, I don't know. I don't see him. Personally, I just don't see that happening. I don't. And even then, right? This is what I mean. So they could seize his assets. All he has to do is relinquish himself just give his asset to someone that he trusts, and then he's no longer the owner, but he can still run it from behind the scene. Like there'd be such an easy way out. It's not even worth worrying about, in my opinion. So it's a bit like when you see the same chicken shops owned by the same people, but every 18 months it's under new management because a cousin or an uncle comes in as the new director, but the owner's still the real owner, but his name ain't on the paperwork. That's what they'll chicken shop this shit. Do you know what I mean? That's what they'll do. Nice and easy. I want to speak about one of your London rivals, though. I want to speak about one of your London rivals in Arsenal. Big money moves of the likes of Lautaro Martinez being spoken about in the media today, which we'll touch on. I also wanted to get your take on how they're doing, because they play big game tonight against Wolves. They seem to be improving all the time, getting better all the time. Are you starting to look at them as a team that could be getting back to their best, or do you still think it's a little bit too early to be speaking about Arsenal in those terms?
Way too premature. First, I don't really look at Arsenal as rivals in that sense anymore. Yes, they occupy London space, but have they really been competing for major trophies against Chelsea in recent years? Not really. And in terms of, are they getting back to their best? Well, you bloody well hope so, because they're playing one game a week. They're out of every single competition other than the Premier League. So obviously that's going to help them. Not playing as many games as other teams. The other teams are having to travel to Europe to play games, play FA Cup, etc., etc. That's a massive help for them. If they do get Lautaro Martinez, he's a striker that I do like. I do rate him. Arsenal, I wouldn't put it past them. In recent years, they have spent money, regardless of people saying, "Oh, spend the money." Spend it. They've spent a lot of money. I think they've spent more. They spent way more than Chelsea. That much I do know in terms of net spend. So it's for me. Next season, if Arsenal get back into Europe and back into the regular routine of football that top clubs are playing, like the Champions Leagues, and like I just said, that's when you judge Arsenal. Because if you're happy, if your expectation is to judge Arsenal on one game a week, then cool, you can be happy with that. But there is another season coming up where they are going to have more football, and you're going to have to see how they balance all of that out. That's where I'm going to really see if Arsenal have made some kind of progress. I think it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to say Arsenal are going back to being that top club.
What I find interesting about Arsenal, I hear a lot of that. I think the Lautaro Martinez deal, I know that Fabrizio has come out today and quoted, I think the agent of Lautaro basically saying, "Oh, there's no mileage in any talk about him leaving. He's happy where he is." I never believe that sort of stuff. I think Lautaro Martinez is very gettable this summer. I really do. What's interesting with Arsenal is this. I think they now need, age is important, but quality will trump that. Like Vlahovic is young, but would have been perfect to add to this up and coming squad. I think they need to add 2 or 3 top quality players to their team to continue their progression, because what they don't want to have happen, they've got better this year. I think anybody denying that Arsenal haven't got better is lying legitimately is lying to themselves. They've improved this year, in my opinion, a fair amount. No doubt about it. I feel like if, though, their signings this summer again are just more of the same, so good up and coming players, not without not like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like players that have got good potential and they're not, and maybe not at their very best right now. What you could find is 2 or 3 other clubs spend and buy that now quality, and therefore push themselves back in front of you in the short to medium term. I think that they have to it's going to be a very important summer for them. I see a lot of gooners talk about how the club's turned the corner. Josh Kroenke's great now. We're definitely moving in the right direction. What I think is premature is thinking like the world's now all sunshine and rainbows because of 8-9 months. I think with Arsenal, you've got to be looking at this, how good my owners are in 3 to 4 years' time.
Yeah.
And I say that because by the end of next season, you could be looking at Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and Saka being 3 of the best attacking players in the league. What then happens when City and Liverpool and Chelsea and maybe some of the big clubs come in for them? Do Arsenal pay those players the going rate of 250, 300 grand a week to keep them as a very big hypothetical, if they go no and let them leave, and then cash in on them and then start the rebuild process again, I don't necessarily look at that as that's not bad ownership, but that isn't the ownership that's trying to make you Champions League winners. That isn't
No.
the ownership that's trying. That's like the Dortmund model. And I remember getting into this row with an Arsenal fan 3 or 4 years ago, where I said I'd never want Dortmund's model at United, and his argument was Dortmund are better than Man United right now. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want that ceiling. I don't want their ceiling and their limitations within their system at all. And I don't think that would be the thing with Arsenal fans. I would say that's premature is thinking that everything's bang on. We're definitely, and then I'm seeing I saw a tweet from a guy. Oh my god, he's like, guarantee that Arteta wins the Champions League and Premier League, and if he doesn't, it's only because of politics or referees or the club not quite giving him what he wants. It's never going to be on the manager. And I'm like, see, comments like that I find really weird as well. It's almost like they're setting up this kind of world where it's no matter what he does, he's perfect, and I find that very strange.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. That's just extreme fanaticism, because there's no footballing reason to show you that that's what's going to happen. Absolutely not. You're not considering the other clubs around you who have better managers that have actually won these competitions.
No, I agree. I think it's just, I think they have improved. I think being linked to people like Lautaro Martinez is very important. That's the level and above. That's what they need. They need a midfielder, another attacker of that kind of quality, because that just gives them that extra strength in depth, creates good competition for them as well. That's going to be really important for them. And plus, again, they have to make this Champions League. They play Wolves tonight. Huge that they win.
Massive. It's a 6-pointer tonight for them.
Well, it is, because Wolves are breathing down their neck. And at the same time, like, it's one of their games in hand over Man United. And on top of that, it pushes them so far in front of Spurs. Like, it puts them 5 points in front of Spurs, level on games. And Spurs are another competitor for that. It puts them in front, I think, of West Ham, or just behind West Ham with 2 or 3 games in hand still. It's imperative they win tonight, because they've got those 3 games coming up. Liverpool at home, Chelsea away,
and Spurs.
And those 3 games are massive for them. So I just don't feel like they can. It's highly likely they drop points across those 3 games. And that isn't a dig. That's because, away at Chelsea, their record isn't particularly great. Liverpool are on fire right now. And Arsenal could be at their absolute best, and Liverpool can still beat you. That's how good Liverpool are.
That's how good they are, yeah.
And Spurs are weird, because barring the Chelsea game, they've looked the best this season so far under Conte when they've been against the better side. So it's so hard to know what's going to happen. The games like tonight are must wins for them. We'll obviously be live match reaction here in the studio after the game, people. So make sure you stick with the terrace for that. Good panel tonight. Good callers coming on. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for them. And in terms of interesting, and it comes to players, like, what is your take on stuff at Chelsea right now, especially surrounding Lukaku? I'm going to go to the super chats we missed, by the way, in a little bit, people. But Tyrone earlier says, Terry, what's your agenda against Chelsea and Lukaku? Terry, read it. I don't have an agenda, but I want to get another Chelsea fan opinion here on, is Lukaku a problem? Or do you subscribe to what some Chelsea fans are suggesting, where actually it's Tuchel that needs to make the concessions to get the very best out of Lukaku?
I think it's a mixture of even more than just that. I think those 2 reasons are part of the problem. I also think that a big part of the blame has to be laid on the scouting department as well, because the question needs to start from, was Lukaku really the right fit for this Chelsea team with the type of football that he's used to playing? Yeah. Because essentially you've brought Lukaku into a possession-based type of system under Thomas Tuchel. You know what I mean? And is his ball retention, is his technique good enough to be able to do that consistently? It's shown that it hasn't been. Yes, there's been issues where he's been injured or he's been out sick. He hasn't had a consistent run of form. But these are things that Lukaku are not really known for. So I'm going to start off with, even signing him in the first place, was that the right decision? I was one of the Chelsea fans at the beginning, because I just wanted a striker that could put the ball in the back of the net. I was the one going, the missing piece. Yes, we're going to win the league and all this stuff. I got gassed. Yeah, but then when reality set and you realize as a Chelsea fan, the depth isn't as good as what it is, and this perhaps wasn't the right recruitment with the right piece of the puzzle, then reality starts to kick in. Now, in terms of Lukaku and Thomas Tuchel, Lukaku certainly didn't help himself in terms of going out with that interview and saying what he said. The time it was released was it was obviously calculated, and it was just terrible from him from there onwards. But it also doesn't help him with the types of performances he's putting in, where he's getting 7 touches on the ball, for example, in a 90-minute game. It doesn't help that situation. And yes, I feel Tuchel tactically sometimes he does get it wrong with Lukaku as well. I have to agree with that. I do think that Lukaku has looked better with playing next to Kai Havertz. We haven't seen that enough. Maybe that's a tactical reason that Thomas Tuchel's the Chelsea manager for a reason, and I'm sitting here for a reason. So maybe there's a reason why he done that. But this is just my opinion as a Chelsea fan, where I think it's been going wrong. Look, there's no manager in world football that gets it right all the time. Right? Some say Pep Guardiola got it wrong in the Champions League final by not playing Fernandinho, and we still know he is one of the best ever to do it. Similar with Tuchel, he's not always going to get it right. But yeah, I do think it's a mixture of several things.
Look, I think you are right. There's definitely a mixture of things. It's whether or not do you know the Tuchel the concession thing is interesting, because I don't know if Tuchel can afford to. And I know this might sound a bit warped, but the way he was called out by Lukaku with the whole, he was meant to play one way, but he chose another. That's why I'm struggling. I've started to see that notion feed into fans more and more. It's building up. It's growing. The seed was planted. The green shoots are out. It's starting to it hasn't flowered yet, but it might go that way. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I look at the recruitment element, and that's an issue here. The one area of weakness at Chelsea in terms of recruitment over the last 20 years has been strikers. You've got Drogba right, and you got Costa right. Outside of those two, nearly every other striker you've bought it's been a miss, really and truly. I think I might have missed one. And I just think Lukaku is as well. And it's frustrating because it costs 100 million quid, and you might need to stick with him a little bit longer. I just don't see Tuchel. The reason I don't see Tuchel changing is managers nowadays, most just have they have one way of playing, and it's like they can change the formation, but the approach to football is nearly always the same. It's Pep doesn't really have a plan B. Klopp doesn't have a plan B. Tuchel, you might change his systems, but the way you play is relatively the same.
Mm-hmm.
Conte, wherever club he's at, they tend to play the same way. That's how managers have become now. It's all about
your sword almost, isn't it? Yeah.
Mate, we've become obsessed with it as fans as well. Like, do you identify, do we have an identity? Do we play a particular way? I think the Fergie type managers have gone at the moment, where Fergie, he was a 4-4-2 manager primarily. He did move to 4-3-3, great wing play. But we would, if we had a month where say we had 3 games on the bounce where we were away to Arsenal in their pomp, and then we were at home to Barcelona in their pomp, and then we were away to a very good Newcastle team. I'm just taking different eras at the same time. We would change our formation and style for each of those games to be able to win them. That was almost gone now. When I say style, it's like we'd go more narrow in certain games, we'd be more low block in other games, we'd counter in others, or counter attack was our main style of attack. And it really, that just seems to have gone now. It's like football fans have become obsessed with having this identity, clear patterns of play where you know what we're going to do. And I understand it. That's where it's evolved to. And probably in another 10 years' time, that'll be gone, and it will go back to all the way Fergie did it. And these things are kind of
coming cycles, isn't it?
Yeah. And when we all get older, when we're all in our 50s and 60s, and it's gone through those cycles twice, and all the kids are moaning about, it will change. No, it won't. It's my dad always said, no, it will change. No, it won't. Son, I've been watching football for 36 years before you were born. And I've seen this happen before in different ways. And I think that's what it comes down to now. I get the feeling with Lukaku, though. I get a little feeling he could be gone in the summer. If you can bring in a replacement and get good money for him, I think it might happen, because there seems to still be like an underlying issue there as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you can see. I mean, Tuchel didn't help kind of quash the flames when he said, he was asked about the Lukaku situation, the 7 touches, and he kind of jokingly said, I don't know what to do. What can I do? Sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So obviously read into that as you will, but it doesn't help the situation. Again, people are going to have their takes from it. And with everything that's gone on around Lukaku, they're looking at it as well. This could be Tuchel's way of saying that it's over for Lukaku. Now, personally, I even think that Lukaku wasn't Tuchel's choice. I don't think it was his first choice. I think that was a board decision, me personally. I genuinely think that Haaland was the man that he wanted. I think that's who he did want. Whether we'll get him now, obviously, I think chances are like 10% chance we'll get him. I don't think we'll get him. But we now find ourselves in a situation where 100 million has been spent plus the 330k, I believe, a week that we're paying
Ooh,
him.
ooh.
So yeah, exactly. So you have to look at it as well from a business perspective. Do you let your one of your biggest assets at the club sit down, collect money, and let his form just go down the toilet as well as his value, but still pay him that money? Or do you play this guy in the hope that he picks up form and come a time where we can get rid of him? Now, I don't think we'll sell him because he, from what we hear, he wants to go back to Inter Milan. No chance they're spending 100 M's plus north of 330k a week to get him, because that's what they're going to have to do. So him leaving the club, to me, I've already made peace with the fact that it's not an option. I would like for it to happen. I'd like for there to be some kind of amicable way where
Yeah.
Lukaku can go off and play football somewhere else. We can bring in a replacement, even if it's we're going to give young Broya, a chance up front. I wouldn't mind doing that. Just not Lukaku, not because I dislike the guy. It's not even. It's nothing personal. It's a,
I hear you. No,
it's a thing where sorry, Tel. It's just a thing where like it disrupts the changing room as well. And Chelsea are in a situation where we've gone from just strictly signing senior players to we're trusting our youth now, younger players. So examples are like you need the seniors to be on their best behavior. They need to set an example for the rest of them that are coming through. So it's a very precarious situation for Chelsea to deal with, bro.
Mate, I hear you completely. Great points there as well. Jason, one of our members here, says, I believe Lukaku initially expressed that he wanted to stay at Inter until he was offered a huge pay increase. He went for the money. He didn't go because he particularly wanted to play for Chelsea. Let's have a little look here. Some more comments. Rose says, Lukaku has still has 310 career goals. It's more than Kane. He's going to end up with 500 career goals. Respect him. Do you know what I'd say about that, Ro? Is I respect him as a goal scorer, but from a Chelsea fan point of view, if you ain't scoring all them goals for us, what does it matter? I remember a Spurs fan, I think it was Eleanor that was on the show, and she used to, one thing she said that I agree with her more than anything else she ever said is, I don't care about Jose Mourinho's past. What's he doing here? And it's true. Like, what it matters. It matters not. You know, Ronaldo was scoring 50, 60, 70 goals a season once upon a time. He ain't doing that now.
Do you remember that Janet Jackson song? What have you done for me lately? Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Well, I was thinking more Eddie Murphy is in was it Raw? Where what have you
Bro,
got?
yeah.
I'm not going to do the accent because you get cancelled for that these days. But it was a great. I honestly like Eddie Murphy stand up. You know, what have you done for me lately, Eddie? I'm not even going to say Eddie how he said it. It's impeccable. It's impeccable. A comment here says, I pray to Allah we don't go for Martinez. No pace or techers. He is a selfish player with below par finishing. No thanks. I prefer João Felix if possible. Cheers, Ramsey. Sorry, didn't mean to offend with the last super chat. Did you offend with it? It says, just because you're a Chelsea fan secretly doesn't mean Man United should adopt Chelsea's model. Money origins matter. Club heritage matter. Roman equals Putin. Well, look, listen, again, when I talk about Chelsea's model, I'm talking about elements of how you run a club, not necessarily who's putting the money in, if that makes sense. But and I know you then tweeted, say you didn't mean to offend me. Talk about my kids, you offend me. Outside of that, pretty much nothing does, barring the obvious things. But no, that didn't offend me, my friend. How can I get on the show in future? We do a lot of phone-in shows. Whenever we're doing a phone-in show, we share the link for you to phone in and have your say, Ollie. Thank you, brother. Will you guys take Kane or Son to Man United? I would take Kane, and I'd take both. Really, both are brilliant. If both were
quality players,
yeah. Joshua here says my only problem with coaching issue part is we seeing other players get better with a new coach. I.e. Tellers, Delo, Fred, McTominay. That's true, but then we saw Rashford improve under certain managers and then regress again. I think it's sometimes certain players suit certain managers, so there's an improvement. And that's also what happens. You've got to remember, when you go through 4 or 5 different styles and managers, I still think you'll probably find 10% of elite level footballers are so good, no matter who they play for, they make it work. But sometimes you need a particular style, and people call them like system
beasts and all this.
Yeah. But there is an element of truth to it. There is an element of truth to it, you know. It's the way it is. A few people attacking, having a pop at the shirt, the jacket. Let me tell you now, this is a banging jacket. This is a banging varsity jacket from our friends at Boohoo Man. We've got more of them that'll be on display on tonight's show. Relax. If you don't like it, you ain't got to wear it or buy it.
Facts.
Dark Angel, you call yourself. Dark Angel. I know what you look like, bro. You got that receding hairline, but long hair, big beard, like walks under both arms because of the sweat. I know what you're doing there, Dark Angel. You love anime, but you got like, man's got like, you know, the guys had the Wolfpack t-shirt.
The Wolfpack t-shirts and
that. Them guys there, do you know what I mean? Like 100%. People critique Lukaku as if he is a nobody. He is still one of the world's best strikers, and Chelsea fans do realize he is a top striker this season.
Nobody said he's a bad player. I just said, if you took what I said and listened, you will hear that I said that he's just not the good fit for our system from what we've seen so far. But then as well, I defend him by saying at the same time, what striker has thrived in that system too? So there's also the question to Tuchel there as well.
Yeah, this is very, very true. So I think there definitely is around, you know, it's the clinical edge that's sometimes missing from certain people. Absolutely. I agree. A few people are asking about the jacket. It's available on Boohoo Man. If you go onto our stream from last night, use my link and my promo code, you get 40% off this bad boy. 40% off. Gunny, really appreciate chatting to you, my friend. Really good show.
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed being here, man. Hopefully we can work together again. Loved it.
Love it, love it, love it. A few, again, more people here are asking about this shirt. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go get you the link now, people. I'm going to get you the link now from last night's show. You don't want to miss out on it. Don't go and buy it without using the discount code. That would be stupid for you. I'm going to post it now in the live comment section because they didn't sponsor this show, but I don't want to let my people down, right? So I'm going to post it in the live comment section. If you want it, click on the link I've just posted and go and check it out. Everybody that has tuned in, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Please smash the like button before you leave. Please make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace as well. It's very important to us that you do that. There's a comment here that's actually come through from one of a member super chat that's just come through. Where's that gone? It says, hey, big up to me for 16 months membership. What is the process to relieve an owner from a team? Does the Premier League have that? But the Premier League certainly doesn't have that power. Or will the UK government sanction the cease of ownership? It might be something like that, but I'm sure he owns it in such a way that it's almost impossible to do that. That's my take on the matter for whatever that is worth to certain people. But there we go. Listen, everyone that has tuned in, thank you. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.